Episode titled The Blue Screen. Heavy rain is falling outside. Peppa is sitting at Daddy Pig's large desk. An old grey computer stands on the desk. The monitor glows brightly in the dark room. Peppa presses the buttons on the keyboard. Click, click, click. She is playing a very simple game about a happy little chicken. Suddenly, the game freezes. The happy chicken on the screen stops running. It simply freezes with its beak wide open. The screen begins to blink strangely. It turns absolutely blue. White square letters appear on the blue background. The letters run from top to bottom much too quickly. Peppa does not know how to read such letters. The computer begins to hum loudly. The humming gets louder and louder. Peppa carefully touches the cold screen with her little hoof. Suddenly the glass becomes soft, exactly like warm water. The screen sucks Peppa's hand inside. Then it silently sucks her in completely. Peppa opens her eyes. She is no longer in her cozy house. She is standing on absolutely flat green ground. The ground is made of huge glowing squares. The sky here is not blue, but completely black. There is no sun in the sky. Instead of a sun, a giant spinning hourglass hangs there. Peppa takes one step. Her red dress is no longer soft. It is made of sharp, colored cubes. Everything in this world is made of small, square pixels. In the distance, Peppa sees Daddy Pig. She happily runs towards him. But it is not the real Daddy Pig. He has an absolutely flat face. He takes one step forward and then instantly teleports backwards. Step forward, jerk backward. He makes the exact same unnatural movement without stopping. "Daddy, I am very scared here," says Peppa quietly. The flat Daddy Pig does not answer. He simply continues to twitch in one single place. A loud metallic scraping sound bursts out of his mouth. The sound is exactly like a broken radio. Suddenly, the sky abruptly changes its color. It turns bright red. The giant hourglass disappears. In its place, an enormous white arrow appears. It is a computer mouse. The arrow slowly descends from the sky right towards little Peppa. Peppa begins to run. She runs across the green glowing squares, but the giant white arrow moves much faster. It glides through the air without a single sound. The enormous arrow looms right over Peppa. A large grey button appears on the red sky. The button says the word delete. The arrow prepares to click on Peppa. The little pig squeezes her eyes shut tightly. She shrinks into a small colored cube. She is incredibly, deeply terrified. The white arrow descends lower and lower. At that exact moment, in the real world, the younger sister Evie walks into the room. She really does not like the loud noise of the humming computer. Evie simply walks over to the wall socket. She completely calmly pulls out the thick black plug. The screen instantly goes dark. The white arrow vanishes forever. Peppa falls out of the empty monitor with a loud thud, right onto the soft carpet. She is breathing heavily. Her red dress is soft and round again. It is quiet and dark in the room once more. The computer is no longer humming. Evie silently helps Peppa get up from the floor. "Let's go play," says Evie absolutely calmly. Peppa nods her head happily. She will never touch someone else's computer again. The girls walk away into their bright playroom. The old monitor on the desk remains black and very cold forever. The world has become normal and absolutely safe once again. Episode titled The Second Peppa. The morning began peacefully. Peppa woke up in her room where George was sleeping nearby and heard Mummy Pig calling everyone for breakfast. It was bright outside, the house felt warm and safe, and nothing strange seemed to be happening. Peppa went downstairs, had breakfast with her family, and then decided to go into the garden to play. The garden was quiet. George was playing with his dinosaur, Mummy Pig was watering flowers, and Daddy Pig was looking for something in the shed. Peppa walked toward the bushes near the fence and suddenly heard a soft laugh. It sounded very much like her own laugh. Peppa thought she had imagined it. But then the laugh came again, a little closer. She looked behind the bush and saw another Peppa standing there. The other Peppa looked almost the same dress, the same ears, the same smile. But something about her was wrong. She stood too still, almost never blinked, and looked at Peppa as if she had known her for a long time. At first, Peppa thought it was a game or a trick, but the clone silently lifted her hand and copied Peppa's movement. Peppa took one step back, and the second Peppa also took one step back. Only she did it a little later. That made everything feel even more worrying. Peppa ran to Mummy Pig and pointed at the bushes, but nobody was there anymore. Mummy said that Peppa had probably seen her reflection in the shed window, but Peppa knew it was not a reflection. Reflections did not stand in the grass and smile by themselves. All day, the second Peppa kept appearing nearby. First in the kitchen window, then on the stairs, then at the end of the hallway. Every time an adult turned around, she disappeared. George did not notice anything either, but his dinosaur kept falling over whenever the clone was close. By evening, Peppa was alone in the living room. She heard footsteps behind her and slowly turned around. The second Peppa was standing by the door. This time she was closer than before. She was smiling, but the smile was too calm. Peppa did not scream. She only looked at her and understood that the clone was waiting for her to be frightened. Then Peppa did something the clone did not expect. She did not run and she did not hide. She walked closer and quietly asked why the clone had come. The second Peppa stayed silent for a long time, then pointed at the family photo on the wall. In the picture, next to Mummy, Daddy and George, there were two Peppas. The room became colder. Peppa looked at the photo again, but now there was only one Peppa in it. The second one had disappeared. Daddy Pig entered the living room and said it was time for dinner. Everything became normal again, as if nothing had happened. That night, Peppa went to sleep beside George. She looked into the darkness for a long time and tried not to think about the clone. Just as she was almost asleep, Peppa heard a soft laugh from under the bed. She did not look down. She only closed her eyes tighter. And in the morning, there was a drawing on the floor. It showed Mummy, Daddy, George, and two identical Peppas. Episode titled Shrinking Peppa. The morning began peacefully. Peppa woke up in her room beside George and noticed at once that her blanket seemed very big. Her pillow looked like a soft hill, and the edge of the bed felt a little higher than usual. Peppa thought she was only still sleepy, so she went downstairs for breakfast. In the kitchen, everything was normal. Mummy Pig was putting plates on the table, Daddy Pig was reading the newspaper, and George was holding his dinosaur. But when Peppa sat on her chair, her feet almost did not reach the floor. Daddy noticed it and said that maybe the chair had become taller. Everyone laughed a little, and the day went on. The next morning, Peppa was even smaller. Now her cup seemed large, the spoon felt heavy, and the door to the room looked much too tall. Mummy measured Peppa against the wall and made a pencil mark. The mark was lower than the old one, even though it should have been higher. Peppa began to worry. She tried to act normally. She played with George, looked at books, and helped Mummy. But everything around her kept becoming bigger. Toys felt heavy, stairs looked high, and Peppa's voice became quieter. George noticed that Peppa was almost the same size as his dinosaur, and he held the toy close. On the third day, Peppa could walk under the table almost without bending. The carpet looked like a huge soft field, and the chair legs seemed like tall towers. Then she heard a quiet whisper from behind the cupboard. There was a small paper crown lying there. Peppa did not remember it. On the crown, it said, "The smaller you become, the closer the door is." Peppa did not understand what door it meant. But that evening, she noticed a tiny dark rectangle on the wall. It looked like a little door, only very small. Every day, as Peppa became smaller, the door seemed bigger to her. She understood that someone or something was waiting for her to become small enough to enter. Peppa was frightened, but she did not go closer. She told Mummy, but Mummy saw only a normal wall. Daddy did not notice anything either. Only George looked at the wall and stayed quiet, as if he could feel that something was there too. At night, Peppa woke up because of a soft knocking sound. The tiny door on the wall was open. A faint light came from inside, and behind it Peppa could see a room that looked like their house, only smaller and wrong. Inside stood another Peppa, very tiny. She waved her hand as if calling Peppa to come in. Peppa stepped back and accidentally stepped on the paper crown. At that moment, the little door began to tremble. George woke up, picked up the crown, and placed it on the old height mark on the wall. The room became brighter, the door began to shrink, and Peppa suddenly returned to her normal size. In the morning, everyone thought the strange day was over. Peppa could reach her mark on the wall again. But when she went to wash her face, she saw a tiny message on the mirror. "You have not reached the door yet.